Where is he at? Hey guys, I'm just kind of setting up here a minute. I'll be right with you. I'm trying to find Nathan here so I can put him as a co-host tonight. I don't know why he's not showing up in my list. He should. Hey, Sally.
Hey,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
All right. Watching for Nathan because I want to put him as a co-host.
Yeah.
See if I can figure out how to do it.
Oh, he wants to host, you mean?
No, I'm going to co-host him with me if I can. I'm going to try it because I had never done that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
He's really good with people. He's very, very good.
Yes, he is.
He's just got a knack and a way and a mannerism that is just spot on. And so do you. I didn't mean that in any way, but the two of you do really well with each other, and like bouncing off each other and stuff and presenting stuff.
Yeah, I think we do too.
Yeah.
There we go. Send us a announcement out to Facebook too.
We are attracting people.
I know, it's great. It's awesome.
I know, it is.
Well, I'm looking for him. Where you at, Nathan?
Is he eating dinner still?
I thought he was already here, but...
Aileen is here.
Yeah, she said she didn't want to come up the panel because she's got her grandkid. There he is. Let me see if I can get him in a co-host position. Why is he not showing up on my thing? He should, of all people.
I see him in the chat.
Yeah, he should show up on this list too, though. And I'm not seeing him. I'll just put him in that box if I have to. We got to figure this out, though.
You guys have never done that before? Where you No.
I hadn't tried it yet. Well, we did when I was on the computer. Now he shows up on that in the other boxes, though.
Huh.
That's weird.
TikTok is my least known. Like I don't know how to use that one the least. I know how to use YouTube a lot better and Facebook a lot better.
Yeah, I'm not real good at it either. I wonder why he's not showing up under that. Just because it isn't electronic.
It wants to give you a hard time.
I know. You with us, Nathan? Looks like he's paused.
I'm sorry. I'm closing all my other apps and everything, and
I just got through doing that. Or close what I could. I finally got that another one of the geographies voiced over and got it out today. So
I haven't finished, but I started it.
It's a pretty interesting one this time.
It is. Well, I think it covers more. I mean, it kind of covers some of the stuff we've been talking about too,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a part two. That one was 2 hours and 15 minutes, and there's another almost 2 hours to go. Yeah.
Yeah. That you have to finish and put out still?
Yeah, still got another 2 hours to go.
Okay.
I just broke in half. It was so big. I was like,
yeah.
4 hours is kind of long to try to upload.
People's attention spans are shorter than that these days,
Yep. Hey everybody, we're just kind of getting set up here and getting some shares out. If anybody wants to share the live, feel free to. It helps us bump up and tap some likes or whatever. Somebody's there. Who's here? All right. Vic said he might be here in just a little while, so.
My cousin is in town visiting him right now.
Oh, that's probably
You
why.
you remember Eric? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he's there with him now. He was in Tennessee for some training or something.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started then. Let's see. Okay, let's see if I can get this focus where everybody can see it. That's pretty good. Wish I could get it even closer to the monitor, but I can't. Last night we talked about Yahweh the dragon in Revelation. We went through 14 things that he fits into. I've got a list of 40, so I'm going to continue with that list tonight so people can see some of these other ways in which he fits in as to being the dragon in Revelation. It's pretty shocking, actually, because when I started out, I thought, oh, well, he fits this, he fits that, and I had 3 or 4 things, and the more I kept going, I kept seeing more and more and more, and I was like, this is unreal. So I'm just going to try to go through a few of these, more of these tonight, so we can just kind of be in the same mode we were in last night, and then pick up, and then people can watch. If you missed last night, I uploaded it to YouTube, so you can go watch the first 14, and we're picking up with number 15. Okay, and I put this little guy in the middle with the scales because I was weighing out, does he fit? Does he fit with every point, And it says, both the dragon's beast and Yahweh's mark affects buying and selling. And that's a positive. It's a yes again. It says, here's the wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay, and some ancient manuscripts have 616 instead of 666. Okay, Yahweh, does it affect buying and selling? Nehemiah 10:31. The prophet Nehemiah instructed the people not to buy or sell on the Sabbath. If the peoples of the land bought wares or any grain to sell on the Sabbath, we would not buy it from them on the Sabbath. Okay? Then we see it again in Amos 8:5. And will the new moon be passed that we might sell grain again, and the Sabbath that we might trade wheat? Because they were upset, they wanted to hurry up and get it passed so they could make some more moolah. Exodus 28:11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days I shall labor and do thy work, but on the 7th Sabbath of the Lord thy God thou shalt not do any work, and thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor your manslave, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor any stranger that is within thy gates. For 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the seas, and all that's in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blesses the Sabbath and made it a hallowed day. And we see this again in Nehemiah 17. Then I confronted the nobles of Judah, and he said to them, what is this evil that you're doing, profaning the Sabbath day? Did not our fathers act in this way, or did our God bring them all this disaster on us, on this city? Now we are bringing more wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath. As soon as it began to grow dark, the gates of Jerusalem before the Sabbath, I commanded that the doors should be shut, and gave the orders that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. And I stationed some of the maid servants at the gate, that no load might be brought in on the Sabbath day. And the merchants and sellers of all kinds of wares lodged outside of Jerusalem once or twice. But I warned them and said to them, why do you lodge outside the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time on, they did not come on the Sabbath. And this is one thing the Pharisees were mad at Jesus about, because they said he wasn't keeping the Sabbath. The Pharisees said, the man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. But others said, how can a man who is a sinner do such signs? And there was a division among them. So the people were divided, and the signs he was doing was like healing, and Jesus literally called them works. Everybody says he kept the Sabbath, but he didn't, because he was calling them works himself. Deeds or works, and that's the same thing. It was just a different kind of work. It was a healing and raising the dead and doing those kind of things. And then in one verse, he even says that my father's still working. So his father couldn't have been Yahweh. 16. Both the dragon, beast, and Yahweh make people worship an image, and that the image might speak. Revelation 13:50, and it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak, and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Well, we see here in Genesis, and the serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely unalive." So we have the serpent speaking. Numbers 21:6, and Yahweh sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many of the people of Israel died. And then the people came to Moshe and said, "We have sinned, and we have spoken against Yahweh and against you. Pray to Yahweh to take away the serpents from us." So Moses prayed in behalf of the people, and Yahweh said to Moses, "Make a fiery serpent, set it on a pole, and it shall be that anyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live." And Moshe made the bronze serpent and put it on a pole. And it came to be, if a serpent had bitten anyone, and then they went and looked at the bronze serpent, he lived. So yes, there was an image, even in the Old Testament. Okay. Both the dragon and Yahweh sift people. We have that in Luke 22:31. "Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he might sift you like wheat." We have a couple of places. I put Amos, but there's another one in Isaiah too. And it says, "If they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I shall command the sword, and it shall unalive them, and I shall set my eyes on them for evil and not for good." That doesn't sound like Father, for evil and not for good. "For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Israel among all the nations as one sifts a sieve, yet not a grain falls to the ground." That's a hard word to say, especially with this little lisp I've got. I lost a tooth I've got to get repaired, and it's still not repaired. So if y'all hear a lisp when I'm speaking, it's that tooth. It's a big one, and it's making my speech weird. Okay. Both the dragon and Yahweh's cause captivity and the sword. In Revelation 13:10, "If anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity they go. If anyone is to be unalived with the sword he must be unalived." Okay, you can see that again in Amos 9. I just went with the same thing because it's all over the place, but it says, "And if they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I will command the sword, and it shall unalive them, and I will set my eyes upon them for evil and not good. And the Lord God of hosts, he is he who touches the earth and it melts, and all that dwell shall mourn, and shall rise up as a river, and shall run down as the river of Egypt." So he's going to do the same thing, brings captivity and the sword. Let's see. Both the dragon and Yahweh are full of wrath and anger. It says in John 3:36, "Whoever believes in the Son has eternal life, but whoever does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God will remain on him." Revelation 6:17, "For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand?" That's another thing that they both have in common, is who can stand in front of them. Revelation 12:12, "Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to you, O earth and sea! The devil has come down to you with great wrath, because he knows his time is short." Now we have one thing I noted about John is he doesn't make they're all the same. The devil, Satan, and the dragon are all the same person to him. You know how they always say, well, Satan's just the accuser. But when you read Revelation, John doesn't make that distinction. He says they're one and the same. Revelation 19:15. And from out of his mouth comes a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. He will tread the winepress of fury and the wrath of God the Almighty. Okay, when we go to the Old Testament, we've got tons of verses with wrath in them. It's like Exodus 22:24. And my wrath will burn, and I will unalive you with the sword, and your wives shall become widows, and your children fatherless. Zephaniah 1:14. Near is the great day of Yahweh, near and hurrying great, the noise of the day of Yahweh. Let the mighty man then bitterly cry out. This is the day of wrath, a day of distress and trouble, a day of waste and ruin, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness. And you notice there's like clouds and thick darkness, but God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. So why do we have a jealous, wrathful God, and then we have a God in the New Testament that's like, wishes none would perish? I mean, you can see this great divide in the two. Zephaniah 1:18. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh. And by fire of his jealousy all the earth shall be consumed, for he makes a sudden end of all those who dwell on the earth. I mean, does that fit, when it says in John that God wishes none would perish? No, it doesn't fit at all. (21) Both the dragon and Yahweh are liars. Revelation 12:9. And the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who leads the world astray. He was thrown to the earth, and his messengers were thrown down with him. And we have Jesus telling us, and this is when he's talking to the Jews, he said, you are of your father, the devil. It is your will to do your father's desire. He was an unaliver from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Okay? One thing people don't catch with that is that word for beginning. If you were looking at the Greek Septuagint, it's the same word for beginning as in Genesis 1:1. So he was really literally saying that he was an unaliver from the very beginning. And that's true because, when you think about the story of, Adam and Eve, if he really loved them, would he have forgiven them and let them stay and eat of the tree of life? But he said no, he wanted them out, and he put a flaming sword to bar them from going to the tree of life. So he literally, sentenced them to unalivement because they couldn't ever reach out and grab that tree of life. So he never really wanted them to live anyway. And he was upset because they were becoming like of gods, Okay, keep going here because I'm kind of getting off track. But we can see Yahweh being the same in the Old Testament and being a liar, like in 1 Kings 22:22. And the Lord said to him, by what means? And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. And he said, you are to entice him, and you shall succeed. Go out and do so. So he's sending somebody out to be a lying spirit that's a prophet. And then in verse 23, and it says, now therefore the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these prophets, and the Lord has declared disaster upon you. 2 Chronicles 18:21, and he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, you are to entice him, and you succeed, go out and do so. And then when we look at 18:22, he said, therefore, the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of these your prophets, and the Lord has declared disaster concerning you. So this is just not. I know there's some spots in the Old Testament where you could say this is positive or that's positive, but it's a massive duality, and most of it is negative. Most of it is the unalive, destroy, and steal, plunder, and take from other people and give it to 1% of the population. Okay. Both the dragon and Yahweh are thieves and murderers. Unalivers. I'm sorry. I get that messed up myself. And this is the same verse. And the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, that leads all the world astray. He was thrown to the earth with his messengers, and they were thrown out with him. And then we've got the same verse with Jesus telling us that Yahweh is basically the devil, and he was an unaliver from the beginning, and a liar, and he does not stand in the truth because there's no truth in him. And when we go look at Yahweh in the Old Testament, like in Genesis 3:22, and Yahweh Elohim said, see, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So he didn't want them to live. That's the verse I was talking about. So Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out, and he placed a cherub at the east of the Garden of Eden with a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. So people don't think about it, but he's barring them from having eternal life. Numbers 31:17. Now therefore, kill every male among the little ones, unalived, and unalive every woman who has known man by lying with him. He does this over and over and over. When they're taking over another area or another nation, it's like he wants everybody unalived. Like get rid of everybody, little children, women, everybody. And I know that a lot of people make justifications for all that. I'm sorry, but I just can't justify it anymore. It's like, to me, it's evil. And I think maybe that's what John was talking about when he said in the end of Revelation, the books were opened and people were judged by what they had done. Had they chose that evil over the Father, Abba Father, that, Jesus taught, were they able to see this? Was their heart? Because I feel really bad that I'm in my 60s and I couldn't see this till now. It just makes me feel, really, really down. Because I'm like, what was wrong with me? Why couldn't I see this? I don't know. I just feel like I was messed up because I should have seen it a lot sooner. Both the dragon and Yahweh are thieves and murderers. Let's see. That's the same two verses, so I'm not going to reread those because I'm trying to cover as much of this as I can in about 30 minutes. But when we look at Yahweh being a thief and a murderer, it's like Exodus 12:12. And I shall pass through the land of Mitzrayim, and on that night shall strike all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, both man and beast, and all the mighty ones of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, I shall execute judgment. I am Yahweh. And it came to be at midnight that Yahweh struck the firstborn of the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on the throne, to the firstborn of the captive, who was in the dungeon, and the firstborn of the livestock. So he didn't spare anybody, even the captives, the people that were captive. And Pharaoh rose up in that night, and all the servants, and all the Mitzrites, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not an unalived one. Not one single house was left with out of firstborn, being unalived. But each woman shall ask of her neighbor, this is Exodus, and any woman who lives in their house for silver and gold and for clothing, you shall put them on your sons and on your daughters, so you shall plunder the Egyptians. And the people of Israel took captive the women of Midian and their little ones, and they took all as plunder their cattle, their flocks, and their goods. So not only does Yahweh ask them to go in and unalive all these people, but he also wants them to take all their belongings. Okay. And this will probably shock people too. This is from Exodus 12:21, and it's about the Passover lamb. And it says, and he called Moses to him and the elders of Israel, and said to them, pull and take from your multitude, from your family, and unalive. And the word for pishkal is literally, in Hebrew, the cripple or lame person. And we've got lamb, but the literal meaning for pishkal is cripple or lame. Now, they say that it's two different words, but you have to remember that we had no Nikud accent marks until the 11th century AD or CE. It's like, so until the 11th century, these little things they say that change these words were not even there. And it's pretty bad, really bad. I think they were actually unaliving humans. Let's see. Then we have Judges 11, where I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you might want to go read it if you've never read it before. But Japheth makes a vow to Yahweh, and because he wants the Amorites to be handed over in his hand, or in other words, he wants to conquer them. And he says he's going to sacrifice the first thing that walks through his door. And that first thing that walked through his door was his daughter. And the chapter literally says that he did unalive her. He did exactly as he vowed to Yahweh. So I'm not just making this up. There's an actual chapter with it in there saying that they were unaliving their own children for him. Okay. Alrighty. 23. The dragon and Yahweh both store up treasures on earth. We see that in Luke chapter 4, verse 5. And the devil taking him up on the high mountain, showed him all the reigns of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said unto him, all this power I will give you, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I shall give it. Then Luke 12:24, consider the ravens, they neither sow nor reap, they neither have storehouses or barns, yet God feeds them. How much more value are you? For the nations of the world seek after all these things, but your Father that's in knows what you need. But seek God's kingdom, and these things will be added to you. Don't be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Then in verse 33 says, sell that which you have and give gifts to the needy. Make for yourselves purses which do not grow old, a treasure of heaven that doesn't fail, where no thief approaches and neither moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So we have Jesus telling us that we don't store up treasures here, that our treasures to be in the future in heaven. But then we see Yahweh over here in Malachi 3:10 saying, bring the full tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. And therefore put me to the test, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down your blessings, and there is no more need. Then in Nehemiah, he says, and the priest and the sons of Aaron shall be with the Levites, and the Levites receive the tithes. And the Levites shall bring up the tithe of the tithes to the house of God, to the chambers of the storehouse. 31:37, Yahweh's tribute of sheep was 675. The cattle were 36,000, which Yahweh's tribute was 72. The donkeys were 30,500, and Yahweh's tribute was 61. So Yahweh's getting tribute from the booty they're taking, because this was where they had conquered somebody. Moses gave the tribute, which was Yahweh's wave offering, to Ezra the priest, as Yahweh commanded Moses. We have brought Yahweh's offering that every man found, the gold ornaments, the armlets, the bracelets, the signet rings, the earrings, the necklaces, to make atonement for our souls before Yahweh. So they were bringing gold to him in order to have atonement. It's nuts. How long have I been talking, Nathan? Are you there?
About 30 minutes, I think.
I think so too. I think we'll stop there for tonight, and see if anybody wants to discuss, and then we can go on if they want to see some more. But I think it's important that people have a chance to talk about this too, because this is major. What I'm showing is major.
I walked away from my phone, sorry. Yeah, Paulina's here for a little bit, so maybe she wants to talk or say something.
Yeah, bring her up.
She's up here already.
Oh, okay, I didn't even see. Hey, Pauline.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
Yes, I'm just a bit tired. It's past midnight here, actually.
Oh, wow.
But I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
How are you?
I'm doing good. What do you think about this that I'm showing tonight?
It's been brilliant. Yeah, I really like the way you present everything and so on. I've not been here actually from the start. I've only been watching it for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's basically just a list, like in comparing, like the dragon to Yahweh. Mr. Twister, Puff the Magic Dragon. You don't realize how many of these songs and lyrics, it's like, now that I go back and I know all this stuff, it's like a lot of what we've been programmed and listened to is to get us, like, geared for all this too, really. Would anybody else like to come up and discuss some of this with us?
I invited Jen up, see if she wants to talk again.
Oh, that'd be great. I loved it last time she came up.
Tammy.
Hey, hi there, everyone.
Hey, Tammy, how you doing?
Good. I'm really enjoying this. I just love to listen.
Oh, thank you so much.
So helpful. It's beautiful. Thank you.
I thought the people that listen to my YouTube channel might like this too because I haven't done a video on it yet. This is new material. In fact, some of it's not even really finished, but there's enough there to show it, you know. I invited Jennifer too.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be quiet. I just wanted to see if people wanted to talk or had questions. And
Okay, Jennifer. The two witnesses gave the testimony, the old and the new, the Father and the Son.
two witnesses aren't really good, in my opinion.
Since they called down fire, I would see them as Moses and Elijah. Because they called down the fire from,
Yeah,
you know.
I agree with you.
And then for the Christ one, it might have been James and John, because they tried to do that. And then Jesus rebukes them and says they don't know what kind of spirit they have wanting to do that. So you can clearly see he didn't like the call down fire that was in the Old Testament, you know. I don't think that the Old Testament, Mr. Twister, I don't think the Old Testament deity is the Father in heaven that Jesus was teaching. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Somebody must have said something. They just filtered our comment section.
Yeah, I mean, someone jumps in. It does that sometimes.
Hi, Beta.
Would you like to come up? You're welcome to. If you want, I can send you an invite. Or was she in here before?
I think so.
Oh dang! Mr. Twister said when I said the witnesses are the dragon, it was blocked.
Oh, wow.
That's hello, Vita.
Hello. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just walking my little guy, my dog.
Oh, nice.
How are you all?
Doing real good.
Good.
Oh, that's good. Happy to hear.
Do you have any questions or anything you wanted to say?
So a while ago, I met a sister. I think her name is Bella. I hope I'm saying her name right. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
yes.
know her.
So she's amazing. Taught me amazing stuff, even your video. And then really, so what happened was in 2000, I was in a cult called CFM. So I was really like, I didn't know any better because my reading is pretty poor, and My spelling also is really poor because of lack of schooling that teachers took me out of. But so when I was in the cult about Passovers, I didn't really understand too much about the Passover until I finally understood that Jesus was the Passover. And then, so when I got out of the cult of sexual abuse and all that stuff, and I found out I had cancer and me with HIV positive, Abba Father was there through it all. Now I'm learning about there's two Jesus, Jesus Barabbas and Jesus the Christ. And when I was listening to your live, everything just clicked into place. Because I was very curious, because my mom is Roman Catholic and my dad is Orthodox. So when you're a child, very young, you're always curious, why is there two Christmases? Why is there two different types of calendars? Why is there, why is people celebrating Halloween? And I thought Halloween was great, but it wasn't. We were worshiping the dead, even the devil. So it was, and I knew about like the Freemasons and all that stuff. So I just want to say, wow, don't stop, keep going, because I was lost. And then when I found your guys' video, it's just really, I thought I was going crazy in a way, because now my friends think that I'm like losing my faith and all that. And I was spending time with Jesus, and I didn't actually know about the cross because I have a cross at my house. My mom gave it to me when I was going through chemo, but I wasn't really thinking about the cross anymore. I was more focusing on Jesus. But at the time, I didn't know about Jesus Barabbas or Jesus the Christ. I just mainly focused on Jesus. I didn't focus on the Christ or anything like that. So, and in my heart, I truly believe that Jesus is Jesus Barabbas. It's just, and when I was watching your video and reading the Bible with you, my heart felt like more peace. And I just want to say thank you for helping me and opening my eyes and my ears, because my reading is so poor. And you, like, Abba was helping, like using you to help me. If that
Oh,
makes
thank you,
sense.
hon. That means so
Yes.
much.
So like yesterday, right now I want to cry because it's just so beautiful, empowering, and so many people are getting confused. I was confused at one point until I seen your video, and everything just makes sense. And then when you guys were talking about the when Jesus the Christ was talking about eat my flesh, drink my blood, I had no idea until you guys mentioned that. And I was like, oh man, like I was really into that rabbit hole that I didn't understand until you said it, right? So
I
it's
was
just,
used to be Catholic, Vita, so I totally understand.
yeah.
It's like once I realized this, I was like, oh wow, you
Yeah,
know.
and then with my dad's side, he's Orthodox, and there are so many saints. And then my dad's like, well, the saints are because they did something, even with Mary too, like, as you know, sister, like, oh, you need to worship Mary. I actually didn't, like, when I was like, okay, Jesus Barabbas, and then I was trying to think about, like, Virgin Mary, and then how you guys talked about it yesterday, I was like, no way. And you know what? It is kind of weird too, because like the Holy Spirit can just get into a human, and then her have a baby. That was just kind of like odd to me. So, and then when you guys mentioned that, like he was sent, he wasn't born.
That makes a lot more sense to me. It really does.
Yeah, it does too, because like it's just weird, like like Mary was born a virgin and had Jesus. But the only thing I was kind of confused about, one thing is oh, I can't think too much because I'm about the head covering, and one thing about divorce. I know Abba Father doesn't like divorces, or even like to what to wear, because a lot of Christians are bashing other people of wearing makeup. I don't think Jesus really cares about too much about those type of things. He's more curious about, like, he wants us to expose the truth and focus on him and not too much about like the gossiping of what to wear and what not to wear.
I think so
What do you
too.
think?
I think so,
Yeah,
and I think if you follow Jesus, you want to be modest. You don't want to be,
yeah.
you wouldn't want to, go out looking like a streetwalker or something.
Oh no, oh for
So
sure.
it's just like it's kind of common sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because most Christian like, and then when people are saying, oh, there's uh, uh, um, a pastor or a rabbi or a teacher, but then I'm like, didn't Jesus say not to call nobody rabbi, teacher? And a lot of people are really stuck into this man that I used to follow, like he was idolizing himself instead of Jesus. And not like how you guys do is when you guys read word for word in the Bible, which is amazing, and translating it, but the other people don't.
Yeah, I worked real hard on that because being as old as I was, I had a dream, and in my dream, Father came to me and he told me that he showed me a bowl of like alphabet soup, and he said, and I looked at it and I said, I don't know what it says, and he said, it's messed up, fix it. And I thought, what did he mean by fix it? But then when I started studying, I was like, yeah, it is messed up. He was exactly right.
Yeah. Oh. But it's I'm so happy that I found you and one of the everybody on Facebook, because it's amazing, and I have a good like peace about it, and I know that I'm in the right direction, and I'm just so grateful because like if I didn't know Jesus, I wouldn't know what would happen to me. Like when I was in that church, I was getting sicker and sicker, and I had no idea I had cancer. And then soon as when I left and then I went back, I started seeing things that I was normally do not see, and it was kind of scary too. And then soon as when I left, I was getting a little bit of attack, and then I start meeting Sister Isabel or Bella, sorry, and amazing, and and then just made me encourage even more to study. I'm a little slow, but it's Abba Father's been helping me, and here I am. And I just want to say I love you guys. I thank you so much, and keep sharing. I'm sharing too, and then I know a lot of my friends think I'm crazy or and one more thing, do you think I should start like have fellowship with people like who are in the church but I'm not in the church, or is it like a dangerous to be in?
I think you can just share it with anybody, anywhere you're at any place, anytime.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, even because you've got family that are still going to be going to church until hopefully they'll see this through you.
Yeah.
But until they do, you still got to love them, and they'll see that love of Abba through you.
Right.
Yeah, because
We have
there was one of the, so when I found out about the sexual abuse with CFM and I wanted to leave, and the couple
Oh,
of people
hey,
asked,
Vita,
yeah,
sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but you can't, on the lives and things, they don't want you to say that word. You have to say schmexual, unfortunately. I know it's
oh,
Oh, I
stupid,
wasn't even
but
thinking. Thanks, Nate.
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I had no idea.
That's one that they say you're
I
not
got
supposed
you.
to say on lives because
Okay,
it's young people or whatever. I'm just
okay,
that's what
you know,
some of the things are, but I don't
oh,
care. But
yeah, I'm not into the technology, so I really don't know.
me
It's
neither.
my
I'm
first
new
time.
to it. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, the S word. So when I left, they said, "Why did you leave?" And I told them why. And they were saying that I was slandering. And then one of the brothers that I was very close to was kind of cursing me, And oh, if you don't, if you don't get a pastor's approval, God's going to curse you something. And I was just thinking to myself, God won't curse their children. Like the Abba Father won't curse us at all. So I don't know why. And I just stopped talking to them. And then I know we're supposed to, I forgive them with all my heart, but then there's going to be like an old friend of mine that I haven't seen in a year, and they want me to like talk to them. And I don't know if it's like we're supposed to forgive them, love them that curse us. But I don't know what to say to the person, tell them how I feel, or do I just come up and tell them how I feel, like without even, I don't know.
What do you think, Nate? It's the best way to handle that. I mean, you got family members too that don't know yet. And...
Yeah, I do.
I never had anybody curse me before.
Yeah,
or try to.
Yeah, that's from Yhwh.
Yeah.
I try to meet people where they're at, and wherever they're at mentally or spiritually, you just try to just say things in a way that can possibly make them question what they're thinking and saying, and question their own morality, question their own actions and things that they're saying and doing to you. So when those things are happening to you, you can reply with questions and say, hey, is that really something that you feel Father was about, that Jesus was about? Can you show me where Jesus did these things? Can you show me that example in everything you say you believe in? Just test them on it, just because everything you said has been, really makes me think that you understand it really well, because you say it so simply, and I think people that can explain things simply like that, they understand it well.
Yeah, because I'm simple. I like simple when people talk to me, just simple. It's because I wasn't taught, raised right. Well, not raised right, but like they didn't really teach me too much in school. They just take me out because I have special need. Well, that's what they say. But I was born with a prosthetic ear and a hearing aid, so I am a little bit slower. But I do understand. And I do get dreams from Abba Father, and that's why I always ask questions. And then when Abba sometimes show me things like through you guys, or even like Abba works in mysterious ways. Even he can talk through people too, like. When my mom says something, I'm like, Mom, remember when you say this? And she doesn't remember. I'm like, ask Abba. Like, you just know, right? So
you can. Another thing you could bring up to him too is that Jesus told us to love our enemies. He didn't say throw curses on them. You know, you could use that verse.
Yeah, because I knew like Abba will never ever even harm us with with our hair, like top of our head. Like he would always guide us. And one thing about I'm covered in like the blood of Jesus. Like I was shocked about that one too. I didn't really too much understand about the blood. When they put when they not the drinking part, but I mean like you're covered in the blood, like your body.
You gotta be washed in the blood, and
when you mentioned that, I was shocked too. So I'm learning a lot, and thank you, sister, because now I'm not as scared. Like now I can talk to them, and thank you, brother, too, because I was scared to say anything like. Talk to them about how I feel, or because sometimes they always say to me, "Oh, you're not listening to God," or when you're praying, like when we pray together, that they always say, "Mariana, you're not focusing, you're not praying," and then they'll distract me, and I know. The devil that tries to distract me, and then I don't know if it's better. I know Jesus says it's better to pray in secrets, but it's okay to pray with people in home, like 20 people all together.
6th floor.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, no
Thank
worries.
you for being
We're
here.
Thank
enjoying
you.
that.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I'm off topics and here and there.
Oh, no, you're on topic. You're fine.
Thank you guys. Thank you. I love you all so much. And I keep going. I like to know more and stuff.
We love you too, Vita.
Thank you guys.
Every night there's a new person.
I know,
This
it's
is so
amazing.
wild.
It is
I didn't know all
amazing.
these people were out there.
I didn't either, and I'm been sending out these videos, and it's really reaching people. That's awesome. Would
Yeah,
anybody
you can.
else like to come up? Everybody's pretty quiet tonight.
It's all right. We've been doing this every night, trying to just be consistent, and I think that's helping because people know that they can come in and talk, and uh, I think that's what's helped a lot with the more and more people coming in, listening.
I think so too.
It's okay, Shannon. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate the conversations we've had with you too. Jen wants to come up. Oh no, she can't figure it out.
Bless her heart. I can try inviting her again. Let me see if I can get her to go through.
Mm.
No, it's still sitting on the invite. She should have an accept button somewhere. Let's try it again.
Yeah, she could, with the little plus sign request box, you can hit that too, and that should request you to come up. She came up before though.
She might be on her. Are you on a desktop or a phone or tablet?
Recording up. Yeah, you might have to be on a phone. I'm
I
not
can't go up on
sure.
lives when I'm on my desktop. It won't allow me.
Oh, she's on the phone. I don't know. You were up here before.
It's kind of bad because you can share verses and stuff when you're on the desktop easier.
I know,
You,
it's so
you
much
know?
easier, right?
Seeing these two Jesus is going to be very, very important though, because it's like Bella showed me a video today where they're proving out that the Christ one is evil, you know, and it's like if people don't know there's two, they're going to really be mixed up eventually.
Right, and then just throw it all out, which is what we're trying to prevent from
Prevent that from happening, yeah.
Right.
Because more and more people are seeing that 666 is actually Christos, you know, and it's like it's going to be a bad thing.
If there's anybody that's not following Jen on the panel, if you could try to give her a follow. I think she needs more followers to be able to come up.
She might, but I thought she was up before. I don't know.
I thought so. She said, I wasn't actually, but would like to.
I have a question going off. I think it
Yeah.
was the start of this video, or maybe it was what you recorded earlier today. I can't remember because I was listening to that right before we came on. But you were saying that in some scriptures it refers to 616 instead of 666.
It's still the word, it's still a nomoseicum for Christos. They
This,
just use the I instead of the S in Greek.
okay.
But they use initials, and they use three initials in Revelation for that
Was
name.
there a reason it was changed from 616 to 666?
The Greek Orthodox, I think, mostly used the 616,
Okay.
and then the Catholics were using the 666. But
Because I
it
had
still comes out to be the same name and the same gematria and everything.
okay. I had heard that before, and so when I heard that again today, I was like, oh wow, I'd forgotten that I heard it from before. So,
I can't believe it took me that long to figure that out either, but it was like, I would not do anything with Revelation till I figured that out. I just couldn't. I didn't feel right about it, you know?
yeah.
So, because I was afraid I'd mess up and say something that wasn't correct, and it makes sense now, though.
Well, at least the way you're presenting this, like what you did last night and tonight, it makes perfect sense, you know?
You can see it now. I mean,
It's clear.
yeah, it's very clear.
Yeah. Hopefully others can see it too, you know?
Yeah, I thought we'd just keep going with this until I finish all 40 of them, and that way people can see how many of them there are. It's like it's unreal.
Yeah.
He fits every bit of it.
There was somebody earlier in the chat when you were talking about how Yahweh is the one doing all the killing, and he said, well, you know, he is God. God can do whatever he wants, but I don't think that person, you know, I was hoping that person would stay so he could see that that's not our Father, you know.
And you can see that so clear when you're reading in the New Testament, because it's like, you know, it says that God wished none to perish.
Right.
You know, now people choose darkness. They can choose the dark, but God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. And to
Right.
me, that pretty much says it all. It's like, he's not negative. He doesn't want anybody to unalive. He wants them to live, and he wants them to live for an eternity.
Right. He gives life. Yahweh takes life. Our Father gives life.
And Jesus never says he's jealous or wrathful or any of that stuff, you know?
Right.
I think he was saying it more along the lines, like, in a sarcastic way, that, you know, basically that's what they're going to say, that's the rebuttal. Oh, he's God, he can do whatever he wants.
True.
That's
Yeah.
kind of how I read it, I think. That.
Well, that's where a lot of people are today when they're thinking that, you know, they want to see, you know, God's, you know, righteous anger. You know, they think that he's going to come back with this righteous anger and this wrath, and they think that that's our Father, you know, because that's what's being taught at the church.
Yeah, I was watching this video, and these guys they were in the chat, and they were like, I can't wait to see the two witnesses and them fireball people. And I thought, what in the heck? You know, it was like, I couldn't believe they were actually saying that. It's like, why would you want to see people fireballed?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I remember when, before I knew the truth about Yahweh, then I remember trying to, trying to explain why is he the way he is. And I remember I knew about the Nephilims, and I knew about the giants, and the only explanation why he was doing the evil, I was trying to explain to myself, because he wanted to kill the giants and not the real people. But now I know that it was impossible to kill so many giants. And yeah,
They'll say that they were hybrid people, or
right.
well, but it's like, nah, there's way more than that going on throughout the Old Testament.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say that's how I used to explain to myself why Yahweh was, you know, the way he was before I knew the truth, right?
Right. I know when I was in Hebrew Roots, I would listen to them read the chapters, you know, every night. And it would be like they were jumping through hoops trying to explain why he was doing this, why he was doing that, and making excuses for it. Really, you can't really, you can't do the apologetics on it because it just doesn't work. It's kind of like you can see it real clear when you see that Yahweh doesn't want any of the cripple or lame people to come close to him, but then Jesus is accepting those and healing them. You can see the difference. And he said the works he did, you know, show the Father. You know, it's like, how can you not see the Father with what I'm doing? You know, it's like, well, his works are totally different, you know.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, it was like, but it was a shock at first, I remember.
Oh yeah, it's a big shock. It's like,
I think it was for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Jen made it up.
oh great. Hey
She done
Jen.
made it.
Hey, that was very difficult. Wow. Like I said, I don't even remember now what I wanted to talk about or any questions, but I'm happy to finally be up here, so that's good.
Oh, we're glad to have you too.
Bella, did you want to come up? Somebody will have to drop if she wants to come up and talk, but we'll see if she wants to even
I'll drop.
come up. Well, I mean, if she Tammy, you can drop it. Oh, Paulina drop. Thanks, Paulina.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Sure.
I remember you guys were talking about, I didn't hear too much, about, when Jesus says, or in the Bible it says, there is the Messiah, or there is Jesus, don't go there. And I know there's two Jesus. When they say, look, there is Jesus, is that the real Jesus, or is it Jesus really coming from the clouds?
When he's saying that, I think because he's saying, if they say they see me in the upper rooms, or they say that they see me in the desert, believe it not.
Yeah.
So both of those instances, I think, are talking about the Christ with the whole communion ritual thing, and then the other one's Paul, who said that he saw him in the desert and he preached the Christ.
I think that too, because Paul was the one that brought that Christ word forward. He was the one that started preaching that he was the Christ. Him and Peter both.
So how do we know if Jesus, like when Jesus do come on the day, or is it when our time, when we get older? Like that's the part, because I'm a little confused now, because I'm starting to read the Revelations, but I'm not really too sure about it, because now I know there's two Jesus. So I'm just confused about that part.
That's a good question, because that's something I'm still milling over my brain.
I was going to say the one thing where he's at the trial and he says, you will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds. I think he's talking about the Christ there and not referring to himself in the third person. So I don't know. It is a good question, because I can't answer it completely.
That was my thoughts too, Nathan. And it's like, because it says all the nations will mourn. If it was Jesus Bar Abba, then they wouldn't be mourning. They would be excited and happy, because he's full of love, and he wouldn't be coming back to unalive everybody and full of wrath and stuff. And even when Paul mentions the catching away or whatever, it's like he mentions that they'll be caught up in the clouds with the Lord. Well, the Lord is Yahweh, when you're using that word, and I'm thinking it may not be as beautiful a scene as everybody thinks it's going to be,
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because that's how I want to know. Because when I was telling my mom Jesus is coming, and I don't believe in the rapture. I think that's just crazy talk there. But my mom says, "Oh, the rapture is when you die," and that's kind of odd to think of. So that's what my head's at. Like, is Jesus really coming, or is it when we when we get older and it's our time to go? That's when we're with Jesus.
Yeah, because Jesus said, he said, even when we we unalive, that we pass directly from death to life. And a lot of people, when they are about to cross over, like I used to be an emergency room nurse, and they'll see Jesus. They'll even say, "I see Jesus. He's here."
That's sorry, sister, but that truly believe that, because when my uncle passed away with colon cancer, and I was just sitting there and I'm talking to Jesus, and when I looking at my uncle, he was smiling. He knew
Right.
of Jesus, but I don't know if he knows what we know, but he knew of Jesus. And when I was looking at him, he was smiling, and that just made me feel nice. Like maybe he did see Jesus, because I seen so many people that passed, they weren't smiling, but when I saw my uncle, he was smiling.
It was amazing because I spent 1 year working in hospice, where all my patients were going to die, expire, and it's like, the people that were close to Jesus, they always had a peaceful crossing like that. I mean, you could just see it on their face. And then
Yes.
some people that didn't know him or were confused or stuff, they always looked like kind of torturous, like it was a horrible experience, and I thought to myself, that right there's a testimony to Jesus, because, when people are close to him in their heart, and they go to cross over to the next life, it's like you can see it on their face.
Yeah, yes. I
It's
agree on
it's
that.
awesome.
Yes, I do. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Would anybody else like to come up or have questions or anything? And feel free to request. We'll be glad to answer questions on what we're presenting, or any other question you might have too. We're open to that too.
So what she was just asking made me think of something else that I've been thinking for a while, is once you know this information and you start looking at Revelation and the promises that are made in Revelation, that he's going to come back and have vengeance, and he's going to be killing and destroying and whatnot, and you even listen to some of these pastors talking, and then you listen to the Christians that are following them, and they're so excited. And you really start to look at what they're excited about, and they're like, oh, well, that people will be destroyed and killed. And you look at that and you're like, okay, well, that means that everybody's going to be celebrating all of this destruction on the earth. And that's terrifying to me.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
There's a pastor, Dana, on YouTube, and he had a dream. He has a bunch of dreams about the end, the very end of the world and everything. And he gets on there and he's talking, and he said, one of his dreams, he said that all the Christians they looked like burnt charcoal. They looked like they had been charred, and I thought, oh, that's not a good thing. And then I was thinking about when Peter and them are out at the boat, fishing, and he shows up after the resurrection, and it's like they don't recognize him, but yet they do after a few minutes, and he tells them throw the net on the other side, and they catch a bunch of fish, and fish are symbolic of the people, like they're gathering people, because he said, I'll make you a fisher of men. And it's like, I think that was the Christ one too, because he's sitting on the beach and it says the fish are already on the charcoal on the beach, and my heart sunk. I was like, ooh, because that Pastor Dana's dream was kind of like my gut instinct when I read that, and I was like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable. But I think some of that, they take it very literal, like it's, they're actually going to be like fireballed and stuff like that. Sometimes I think it's more of a spiritual connotation, like souls are lost and we don't know they're being lost,
Yeah.
because he said, don't fear the one that can destroy your body, but fear the one that can destroy your body and your soul, which is a horrible thought.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, the rapture talk, I don't know what to think of all that, but sometimes when you're reading, it almost seems like the rapture is like, Vito was talking about, it's the death. And so if there's a sudden death of a whole bunch of people, they'll think it's the rapture, but, it was actually Yahweh taking his people. I don't know how to
Right. And see, Jesus said he was the good shepherd, and no one can snatch them out of my hand.
yeah,
That word,
exactly.
that
Yes.
word for snatch is harpazo. It's
Yeah.
it's the rapture word that they use in Paul.
Yeah. It just seems a little backwards. It seems like everything they're looking forward to is probably not what they should be looking forward to, but I don't know.
I know. It's a whole. It's like when I learn this stuff. It's like it always opens up and lets me know how much I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me 10 times more questions than I had before.
Yeah.
You know.
So another thing I was looking for before I came up here, it's something I read a few weeks or months ago. Who knows? Time's going by fast. But I was reading, I think it was in Zechariah, but I don't remember now because I can't find it. But they were talking about building the second temple. And so they were telling all the people to bring all their donations, their gold and their silver, and anything that they could contribute. And they brought so much that they eventually were like, okay, we've got enough, you can stop. And in the meantime, if I remember correctly, they had given like all that they had. So they were living poorly, and they built the temple, and they had so much gold and silver and other stuff left over, all these linens and stuff. They had all that stuff left over. And they were like, well, what should we do with all this stuff that's left over? And they decided to make gold and silver servingware and utensils and, just frivolous things. Like literally, you're eating off of gold as the rest of the entire town, let's say, is living in poverty. They didn't give it back. They used it for frivolous stuff, like exorbitant, like eating off of gold and stuff, instead of taking what was left over and giving it back to the people so that they would live better, right? And I just remember reading that, and I was like, gosh, that is the like epitome of being a thief, right? You take more than what you need, and you didn't steal it from them, they gave it to you. But even knowing that you couldn't use it for the actual temple that they gave it for, you literally put it in your drawers and use it to cook your food and eat in lavish.
Oh, I know. It's just like you see at the Vatican today.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's like you got billions going hungry, and little children needing food, and homeless people needing shelter and everything, but yet you see all that lavishness poured out there. It's really sad.
Yeah. And here's a thought. I was reading the comments from last night's live on YouTube, and there was a really good question that was put up there. I don't have an answer for it because it kind of shifted what I was thinking. It made me think a little bit further on it. He was asking, or she was asking, okay, so at the Mount of Transfiguration, you have Moses and Elijah and Jesus up there. And then all of a sudden, the voice of God, and you could also say during his baptism, right? The voice of God came down and everybody heard it. Some people heard it as thunder. They didn't know what they were hearing. But on the Transfiguration, James and John heard it. So the question was, well, if nobody's ever heard or, seen God, then were they really actually hearing from God, or was that Yahweh? But just the way that I used to think of the Transfiguration was, that was God saying, here's Moses and Elijah. Don't listen to them. Listen to my son. But it was a good question because it was bringing up the fact that, you know, he does say that nobody's ever heard the Father. So was that actually the Father talking?
Didn't it say, though, that Peter and them were afraid?
Yes, very afraid.
And that there was a dark cloud there? I think that was probably Yahweh.
Yeah. But why would he go against Moses? Unless, because I've heard it said that Moses, and I've read it, and I can see where this idea comes from, but as Moses was dying, he was putting out his last thoughts to the entire people, and he was basically lambasting Yahweh, saying he's not who you think he is, and blah 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 blah. So it was almost like a parting right, saying, here's the truth, and I finally figured it out, but now I'm about to die.
Yeah, I got that too. Even Joshua, you know, when he was giving them, they swore the oath to Yahweh. It was like he was telling them he's a jealous God, you can't serve him. And he was saying he will not forgive your sins, and they still swore an oath to him.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty wild when you read the Old Testament and see those things.
Yeah.
I've always took that, now that I know this, to be the JC one, and that he was hanging out with Elijah and Moses discussing what was going to come, you know, what was going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
And I figured that was Yahweh, you know.
I'd never thought of it in those terms, so it was a really, really good mind bend for me.
I think we have to reread the whole thing and really look at it carefully, you know, as to which one is which. Because I know I can tell a difference in it, you know, a whole lot now, you know. Like the Good Shepherd versus because Yahweh says in the Old Testament, he's going to raise up a foolish shepherd that won't tend the flocks. And in the 30 pieces of silver is even mentioned. You know, and then that shepherd's mad because he said that wonderful price which you know, appreciated me for, you know, was 30 pieces of silver. You know?
And throws it back.
Yeah, and throws it back. Yeah. You've read a lot of the same things I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been studying a lot, especially in the last 4 years.
I'm going back and re-looking at the Old Testament now in light of all this, and oh, wow. It's like it's just screaming at me, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, that's what's tough is, like, trying to break people away from seeing things that they've always seen because they've been told to see that. And when they read the Bible, they only interpret it in their brains the way they've been told. And I'm pretty sure most of us that have gone through this journey have gone through that struggle, is like clearing your mind and looking at the scripture, looking at the words. I mean, at a very, very first level, looking at the words and not letting interpretation that you've been told get in the way. You have to sit there for a while and look at it. And then getting to the level where you go, oh, wow, I've been lied to, like hugely, like everybody in my life, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they've lied to me. So you get through that part, and I think most of us went through this huge grieving period of absolute devastation, where you're scared that you're doing something wrong, you're scared that you're blaspheming, you're scared, and then you keep reading and you're like, well, no, this is right, this is good, and then you get that conviction in your heart because you're like, it's there, I can read it, I can see it. And then you go to the next level where you start looking at the words and the the roots of the words, and you start looking at that, and then you realize that not only has everybody been deceived, but then even what you're reading isn't real. Then you have to go back to the roots of the words and figure out what the roots of the words are. And so now it's like this deconstructing of the entire Bible, everything you've known, everything that everybody else knows, and building it back up. Like the work you do that's exactly what you do. And that's why it's so valuable. And I appreciate it, because I don't have the time to do this, you know, being young with kids and single. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But trying to bring that to somebody that's been in this indoctrination and they won't stop and just read the words. There's like a huge barrier, and I don't know how to get through that. I don't know if there's a magic, like something just to say, I love you, darling. Please just stop and read the words, because I've tried it multiple times and they just won't. So I've really just resigned, and not resigned in a bad way, resigned myself to understanding that it's not my job to bring them to the truth. It's my job to plant the seeds. And then know in faith that God will, and I hate calling him God now, Father will come around and water it and, build them up through the Holy Spirit if they have it, or any little inkling of it, and it will grow. It might take time, but we've put the seeds there, and now every single time they read the Bible, they're going to have that in their head, and they're going to start to see it and see it and see it, and to the point that they can't not see it anymore, and they have to address it. They have to face it. And then
Yeah, it's like somebody tried to tell me about Yahweh, and I wasn't ready yet, and it was like I just couldn't see it, but she had planted that seed. And later on, I remembered what she told me. When it actually clicked with me, I was like, and Narnia tried to tell me about that, and I blew it off, Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't where I started, but I actually got a really rude awakening to it. I was in some chat on Telegram, and it was like really, really rude and awful, and like very in your face, like highlighting all the bad things about it. And eventually I left that chat, but all those little snippets of what I had seen about Moses having horns and eating the children and bashing the babies, that's all I saw. And so I immediately rejected it. I was like, no way, no. And then I left, and then as I was reading on my own, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I saw. And so I kept rejecting it. And then I would stay away from the Old Testament completely and stay in the New Testament. But then I was like, oh wait, now I see this and this referring to the Old Testament. And that's how it came for me, was like, okay, I guess I better go back and read the Old Testament. So I did, and then it was obviously clear. And so I've tried not to do it. And this is the struggle. That is what got me there, was the blatant, obvious evil being shoved in my face. And I hated it. So I tried to go the other direction and highlight all the love of God, or love of Christ, of Jesus and Father, and pushing that back towards the Old Testament to highlight how it doesn't match. But that didn't seem to work either. So
That's why I like these comparisons, because you're showing both sides.
yeah.
You're showing the love and compassion of the Father, but then you're showing Yahweh for what He really is. And it'll hit home eventually. It's like they might not see it to begin with. And people get so mad at me, and then sometimes I know some of that recoil anger is that they're being confronted with something that their mind can't deal with yet. Because they're just not at that level yet.
Yeah,
So
and
I try not to get angry back in return, because then you can't communicate at all at that point.
And I think a lot of us, like me, I am really hesitant to bring things up because I don't want that reaction. I don't want them to push back and push me away completely. I want to try to keep that tether of communication, but eventually, from my experience, they just cut you off. And that's the hard part, because there's going to be relationships lost, but you have to have faith that if you've done it well enough, you've planted the seed, they should come back. They should.
I've had people block me and everything, and then they'll come back and unblock me so they can talk to me and tell me that they were sorry they blocked me, because now they see it.
Yes, and we have to
It's just like
pray that that's exactly what's going to happen, and have faith that it will come full circle and it'll come back and we'll have gained somebody. It's tough though.
Hi, Samuel.
Hello, how is everybody?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Your subject kind of caught my attention about Yahweh and the dragon.
Yeah, I believe he's actually the dragon in Revelation.
Yeah, the greatest, they always say the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. But the actual truth is the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince the world that he was God. The God of the Bible is actually the devil. And we've done a lot of research, a lot of different religions. And as the cultures popped up and their religions popped up, and I traced it back to its source code of the oldest civilizations in the world. And I can't prove that God does or doesn't exist because I know that God does exist. But what I can prove through historical evidence that every single religion in the world is wrong.
Yeah.
That the God, the Father that we have, that we love and inside our hearts is real, but there is no religion that actually depicts that God.
Exactly. And they're repeats, to me, they're repeats of Yahweh, you know? They're like little spin-offs. Same thing.
Same everything. Same dualistic nature. I mean,
yeah, but
even the Aztecs were... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You were going.
I was just saying that when you look at what the Aztecs were doing, it's very similar to the Old Testament and what the Jews were doing. So it's really no difference in when you know what it's really saying.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of they hide behind different names like Jupiter, Zeus,
right,
Odin, and then if you want to go into the natives, you got Itzama, Quetzalcoatl, and Kukulkan.
Yep.
But that being that everybody worships as God is not God. And I came to the conclusion through arguing with this Christian. He says, this is God's creation. I said, okay, if this is God's creation, then we will know the Father by his creation, right? Let's see how his creation works. And I went on like quantum entanglement and quantum physics and how everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. All right? And then I said, all matter has a vibration in the entire universe. But guess what causes vibration? It's a lack of harmonics. A lack of harmonics causes vibration. Like, well, wait, harmonics is a good thing, right? So that means maybe
harmony is a word, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe vibration is a bad thing. Oh, wait. And then the Gnostics said that the demiurge created the material world and it was evil. And then the Holy Roman Empire eradicated the Gnostics. And I put it all together and realized that just there's no single religion in the world that actually depicts the real God anywhere.
I think of it this way, Samuel. It's like, you know, like if you go out in the woods and it's so beautiful and everything, but then the mosquitoes start biting you, or you could get bit by a snake, or you could fall down, trip on a rock and break your leg. It's like there's no place that's safe. It's not the Father's world, you know. The roses have thorns, and I don't think in heaven they'll have thorns in Father's world, you know. I think it will be harmonic, you know, and we will be able to enjoy nature without the irritants, you know, without having the mosquito, something to put on your skin to keep bugs from biting you and or getting ticks and getting Lyme disease or
and paralyze yourself and while you're on vacation.
They called him, the Rosicrucians called him Rex Mundi, and the reason Satan could offer the world to Jesus when he tempted him was because it was his world to offer.
Exactly. Because even
Right.
Yahweh says in Psalms, the world and all those things in it under heaven are mine. He says under heaven. And I'll think, how did I read right over that for so long,
And then they go into what is it? I can't remember the book right now, but he's talking about how love is patient, love is kind, it is not jealous, and all this.
Right.
And then you go into I am Yahweh. My name is jealous. I am jealous and wrathful and hateful. And well, it says that God is love, and you're describing all the things that love isn't.
Exactly. And then I learned about, have you studied about the word parable and what it really meant back in the first century? It actually means compare. It came from the Latin word for parabole. And, you think about parallel beams, in a gym, they lay side by side. Parable is compare this side by side. So every time Jesus said parable, he's saying compare this. And it's like we were never taught that. It's like there's so many simple things that we just were not told,
Yeah, they tell us it's some mystical, deeper thing that not anyone can just understand. But the truth is simple to understand. I think that's why all these people are coming in here lately. Every live we've had, we've gotten to talk to new people that see this and understand it. It's been wonderful.
It's totally amazing. Like you coming in here tonight is
I
like,
didn't even know these guys were out there. I didn't know all these people were out there. We've been kind of isolated and then decided to start talking about it. And it's like, wow, everyone's coming out of the woodwork to say that they agree. It's so wild.
Yeah. God's not the author of confusion, right? So
I think that the truth is really simple. It's just that we've overcomplicated everything so much to the point that it's all clouded. And the religions are doing that on purpose. They're all trying to guide everyone back to this Yahweh worship. And Jesus didn't even command anybody, get on your knees and worship me. Or, it's like, does Father really demand anything like that? I don't think so. Oh, I got a request.
I actually, in my research, it sounds like you guys have been doing your research. In my research, I found out that all branches of Christianity go back to the Torah, and Jews go back to the Torah, and then the other writings, and then Islam goes back to the Torah, and then the Torah is a condensed version of the Sumerian tablets, and the Sumerian tablets are one of the 5 heads of Brahma. And when the Indians left India and decimated most of Europe, most people don't know the out of India narrative, because the Western world thinks that India was invaded, but India actually invaded. And the Ayurvedic is like the oldest known religion per se to the planet, and its remnants are, there's 3 books of the Ayurvedic culture, and there's remnants are Hinduism, and ironically, the return of Kalki is a lot like the return of Jesus. Kalki is the 10th avatar of Vishnu, and Krishna was one of the avatars of Vishnu, and the parallels of Krishna and Christ. Not just name, just there's a lot there.
I agree.
there sure is. There sure is a lot in those 2 comparisons. And you know how the 7 heads, the 7 tops of the menorah, and it's like, then you've got the 7-headed Naga in India, you know.
Yeah, it's all there. It's just they hide it because, to me, it's like, it's very simple. Like, how are we born guilty? Well, you're born into the flesh, and the flesh wants you to sin and do things contrary to the spirit. and you have the spark of divinity within you, the kingdom of heaven, and you work with God, the Holy Spirit, to walk in that flesh and not to sin. And that's the life, the narrow path that you walk with and balance your whole life with the help of God and the Holy Spirit. To me, that's very simple, but people think, no, you just have to believe that Jesus died on the cross, and you could be a horrible person, but as long as you believe that he died on the cross for you, you're good. You got your ticket into heaven. Like,
See, they've done that too, and then
so.
they're going to have you think that, you're supposed to eat his actual flesh and drink his actual blood, and be a cannibal in order to, to have salvation.
Yeah.
But they don't see there's two Jesuses, There's one that did that, and the one that was in the upper room, he dipped the morsel in the bowl and then put it in the mouth, and when he did, what entered the guy? It's like the devil.
Yeah.
That's your other Jesus, and he said, I come in my Father's name. When another comes in his own name, you'll receive him. And that's exactly what we did.
I think we should. I still have. There's a lot of people that come up that would talk about like baptism and things like that too, and I wish I knew a little bit more about that. That's the one thing that I wish I could
baptism
talk about.
Is a pagan grounding ceremony.
Yeah.
You ground yourself with, especially if, like, with these astrological signs of like Cancer, Pisces, and I can't think of the other one right now. Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio.
Is it Aquarius? Oh, it's Scorpio. Yeah, Scorpio is the water sign. Yeah.
They ground yourself in the water. It pulls the positively charged ions out of your body and into the earth and grounds you. It makes you more, all those energetic attachments, stuff like that. Baptism is pagan at its core.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's from Judaism, I don't think that, and in one place in John it says that Jesus actually did not baptize too,
Yeah, but most people, that's why there's a conspiracy that we have rubber soles on our shoes because they don't conduct electricity, and we have a torus field around us where energy starts in the top of in our head of the crown and goes out at our feet. But then with the rubber soles, we never do that. So we pick up all of the other people's energy and all these bad spirits and stuff, and we never really get rid of them. And then it keeps us disconnected from the earth and stuff.
I've heard that. Very interesting.
Yeah, they talk about grounding. I used to be Wiccan, and they teach that in Wicca, and I was like, I don't want to be grounded to this place. I want to go upward. It's like I want to go to Father's world. It's like, so I don't know. That's just my perception as an artist,
Well, grounded, it doesn't mean like grounded like to earth. It means like grounded isn't like electrically, like you have all this positive electrical charges on you from picking it up from people all day long, and it's like messing with you and your energy, and the earth pulls it out of you so you can be just you, but
there's a lot that I think that they don't want us to understand and know about this place on purpose. We're figuring these things out, though, in the past 10 years or so, 15 years, I'm seeing way and way more people get this, see more and more truths.
What do you think is going to happen when they find out they can't leave this place? That's why NASA means to deceive, because they realized that this was hell.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus told us it was. He said it was Kato, which Kato Cosmos is what he called it, means the underworld in Greek, so it's like we definitely are in here. And I told him when you read Amos 9, you can see that Yahweh's got everybody trapped in. No matter where you go within this world, he'll pull you back, But it's like Jesus is the door. He's the gate, the portal out of here. He's going to get us out of here.
Yeah.
You may have to cross over to do it, but he said we'd pass, directly from death to life.
Yeah. It was nice meeting all of you. Glad
You
there's other
too.
people out there that similar views and stuff. It's nice.
I gave you a follow. Jen, if you
Yeah,
want to ask your
anybody
question.
looks at my images, realize that the world is filled with darkness and loves darkness, and I use dark images to lure people in. Like, ooh, that's pretty, and then I give a positive message. It's kind of like a bait and switch on them. So
I don't know about.
Jen, did you want to come back up, or did you get kicked for some reason? She said she didn't leave the panel.
Yeah, I was just there all of a sudden, but Samuel can finish what he was saying. Do you have more to say?
no, that's all I do. If anybody watches my page, it's a it's a bait and switch. It's dark images with a positive message. Trick them with the images, keep them with the message.
You said, what do they call that?
Thank you so much for sharing, Samuel.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Jen, if you want to ask your question about John the going on, you can. I was going to see what she was going to say.
Yeah, the baptism. So, I've not looked into it as far as like the two Jesuses, but if John was baptizing and baptized the Christ or Jesus, and then once again we come to the idea that there was a voice from heaven, and that was where people couldn't tell whether it was thunder or an actual voice. Some people heard it, some people didn't. What's going on there? That's again got to be Yahweh talking, and that was where the Christ was baptized, right?
It's definitely Yahweh, because the word they use for dove is pistera, and pistera is considered to be the Shanika, or the Asheral, the cohort of Yahweh that came down. So that's thought to be the symbol for her spirit, and she's like, elevated to be like Yahweh's cohort, or whatever they want to call it. So I definitely don't think that came from Father in heaven.
So where does the baptism fit into, like, where is the Old Testament talking about being cleansed by water? I know they went through the water, but...
Yeah, they do a mikvah. The Judaism, they do a mikvah every day. They actually go into a bath and completely submerge, and they prefer it to be running water, like some kind of like a spring, a natural spring or something like that. And it's in, I want to say it's either in Leviticus or Deuteronomy, where it says that the priest and all shall be bathed and clean before they go into the temple, But they have more of it, I think, in the Talmud than they do in the Old Testament. Because they don't follow just everything in the Old Testament. They have the 14 books of the Talmud that they follow.
Yeah.
But I think, it's like John, when he was baptizing, he said, already the axe is laid to the tree, and he said, don't think that you have Father Abram, because God is able to raise up children from these stones. I believe, I'm paraphrasing because I'm not reading it out of the Bible, but it's like, I think that he was teaching the Judaism, and he was saying, okay, here's the tree of life coming into the picture, but we've already laid the axe to it. And Abram means exalted father. So he could have even been saying, don't think you have the exalted father, because, Yahweh's more powerful, basically, is what he was saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes that because that's a very confusing
It's
passage.
it's very confusing. And see, when you look at his parents, it says that they were righteous in all the laws, they were real close to Yahweh and they didn't break any of his laws. They were like strict into Judaism. But then here comes Jesus, saying, you've heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I tell you not so. He says his father's still working on the Sabbath. I mean, he's breaking all the rules, and so he's polar opposite from what they were teaching.
Right. Okay.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it does. And Bella's up here now, so maybe she
Hey,
can
Bella.
talk.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm just hanging out.
I'm all sweaty and tired.
Yeah.
Just got done with a photo shoot.
Or a wedding?
No, this one was engagement.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And they just found out they're pregnant, so
Oh, boy.
weren't expecting that, yeah. So they said they'll be back in January for more pictures.
Oh.
Well, that's a good thing for you.
Oh yeah, always.
I figured that. Well, we dropped a couple people. I was going to see if there's anybody else in there listening, maybe want to come up. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't show me everybody that's in there.
I know.
Be right back.
This is Friday night, too. There may be a lot of lives going because on the weekend there seems to be many more,
Oh, are we losing people?
Might be having connection problems or something.
Yeah, it tried to boot me off earlier.
Okay, I bet that's what it is. I'll have to watch for them to come back. Invite them back up.
It was skipping. It was really weird.
Yeah, that is. Because it was like a bunch at one time.
I got booted off last night for just, I don't even know what happened. All of a sudden I was gone.
I was watching one today and the host kept getting booted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I watched part of your new video. It was wonderful.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I really enjoyed what I watched of it so far. I'm going to go back and watch the rest before I go to sleep, and then I'll probably end up watching it again tomorrow.
There's another 2 hours, about 2 hours that I'm recording on the part 2 of that one.
That's awesome.
It was so large that I decided to break it in half.
Yeah, it was really good. I only got about 3/4 of a way through it. Then I was listening to it even on the way to my shoot, and I was like, oh, this is really good. I wanted to tell you, too, there was something about it that you said in the thing when you were talking about the Italians or whatnot being the Jews and stuff. And do you want to hear something that's really crazy about us? Because I'm Italian, okay?
Nathan needs back in. I didn't mean to interrupt real quick.
It's okay. Yeah, see, it did. It kicked him out. It was the connection.
I figured
It just kicked me.
I know. It
What
kicked
was
a bunch.
that?
It kicked a bunch of people.
What the heck?
Yeah, it might be, what do you call it?
I left for like 1 second.
What do you call them? What do we call them? The big boss,
I don't know. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to interrupt.
It's
I
Big
couldn't
Brother.
even hear
Sorry.
what was being Big Brother. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Big Brother's
couldn't even
watching
hear
us.
what was being said too. When I joined back, I could see all the little boxes, and it wasn't even playing the audio. What?
Yeah, that's Big Brother.
Our audience dropped too because we had about 16 and they just went bloop.
Yep,
I was
they did
like,
that to us.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean
It's
to
okay.
interrupt.
So
You
what I
can
was
keep
saying
going.
was, she was talking about, you know, the Italians being the Jews or whatnot. And there's something really crazy about something with us Italians. All right. So I'm Italian and Scottish and a little German, and I can trace my Scottish and German roots all the way back to like the 1400s. Okay. But when I got to the Italian side, if it wasn't for my grandmother keeping like meticulous family records, I wouldn't even know who's who, because it's like they do it on purpose. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to know we're Jewish. They don't want us to know that we have that in our bloodline.
I know.
And like, you can't find family. They purposely scramble with the records because, you know, I mean, I can read and speak Italian probably about like 80%. And then the stuff I can't understand, my cousin's real fluent, so I have them check it for me, you know. But even they cannot, you know, find records over, because they go to Italy all the time, and she has trouble too. You know what I mean? A lot of that stuff's locked up, or they'll tell you the church burnt down, you know, and the records were in the church, stuff like that.
Right.
But
I have about 12 family members that live in Italy now. They speak Italian. They don't even speak English. Well, not very well.
yeah, well, I have cousins that live over there, and when you FaceTime with them, you have to talk slower.
Nobody in my family really talks to them. It's on my dad's side. I think one of the siblings of my aunts. Well, I have one aunt and 7 uncles, but the aunt is the only one that went over there to visit them and meet them and talk about that side of the family and things. I never met them before.
My sister married an Italian.
Yeah,
And
very loud people.
oh, they do. The house is real lively when there's a bunch of his relatives there. It's like it's.
Oh yeah.
But I thought that was neat though when you said that, because I thought, I bet you that's why we can't find our records for our family to trace our bloodlines back to who's who. You know what I mean? Who we're related to.
Right.
Because it's not just me that has this problem. It's other people I know that are Italian that has the same problems.
I have a lot of Scottish, and I have a bunch of Spanish. I have American Indian and German in my background.
I got the German, apparently.
I have a picture of my grandfather Green coming right off the boat from Scotland. He was 2 years old. So cool. He's getting this little dress-looking thing. It's like, it's so neat. And he married my grandmother, and she was Choctaw and Cherokee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She even had the little hook nose, you know, like a lot of the Choctaws have. She had a little hook on the end of her nose.
That's probably where you get your beautiful hair from.
Yeah, the dark hair. Yeah, my brother and I both had that. We both had the native. We look like the native side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to go up to family reunions up at the reservation in Cherokee, North Carolina. Yeah. Had pictures of the family from up there in the cabins even. It's pretty cool.
Cherokee's close to me.
Yeah. I used to do a lot of the artwork. I used to show my artwork in Cherokee at Ride Wild Horse gallery up there.
I have never been there, but it's not too far from where I am. A couple hours.
Well, back on talk about. I'm sorry, I'm getting this off.
Yeah,
Does anybody else want to talk about any of the stuff we talked about tonight, or any other questions about like Yahweh being the devil, or there being 2 Jesuses, or I mean, you'd think this would be a hot topic. You know?
Yeah, there's a guy in there that I can invite up named Christ Knight, but I don't know if that's going to be a good one to.
That's fine.
He hasn't said anything. Yeah, I painted all day.
Yeah, I like that picture you did. That looks good.
Oh, well, thanks, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. I'll have to go look. I'm sorry.
Allison, I don't care. I don't care. I post a little thing of it. It's on Facebook, but it's not like me talking about these things is helping my art career any, so if anything, it's probably hurting it.
Probably the same here, but I don't care. This is more important.
It is to me, too. I still like painting, but this is controversial, so I get a lot of people, they don't want to. Oh, man, yeah.
I often wonder if people actually realize that when Yahweh is the devil, if they really realize who the devil is, though, when we say that. I don't think they realize that it's Lucifer and a team of angels, that fell with him.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Right.
there's a bunch of them, and it's like he had 72 different names in Judaism, and there was 72 demons that built the second temple for Solomon,
Yeah.
and they took that book out so nobody will know it.
Yeah, the Gosha demons, if I said it right.
Yeah.
That's where all those little sigils come from, and that's why all the people into witchcraft use those sigils. They're calling on those demons.
I almost got a sigil tattoo when I was in New Age, and I'm so grateful that didn't happen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd be happy too, Sally, because I didn't get any.
I have no tattoos, and I'm so grateful I have no tattoos.
And I had a lot of friends getting the
Yeah, I got a lot
pentagrams
of
and
them.
stuff when I was Wiccan. They got the pentagrams and the elements tattooed on them and stuff like that, and I never did any of that, and I'm glad I didn't. But yeah,
I unfortunately have tattoos. I have things that are tattooed on me, but
but they're not witchcraft ones though.
I have the 7-pointed star tattooed on
Oh,
me,
do you?
unfortunately. Yeah, God bless.
Wait, what do you
I was
have
an
on you?
idiot. The 7-pointed star.
The Star of Rempon?
And now that's the 6-point.
Nathan.
I was 19. I was 18. It's the hold on, let me look it up real quick. Hold on. It better
Could
not
be,
boot me
Jen.
again.
Could be.
Yeah,
In the Revelation, when it mentions the images, it actually, the word for it in Greek is icon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I can do a whole nother series on that if y'all want to know how Revelation stacks up in modern Greek language, because it's pretty interesting. It might scare everybody, but
I think we need to know, because every time I put an emoji on, I'm like, am I actually summoning a demon here, or am I just like using the tools of our time? I think it's both,
Well, actually, like have you seen my Matthew 24 video yet? That long 6-hour one?
Yeah.
I cover about the Son of Man coming, being an AI image on the computer.
Right.
And I agree with that. I think you're spot on that. Why do they want to have a television in everyone's homes? Why are televisions dirt cheap on Black Friday? They want to make sure everybody has a smartphone in their hand and everybody's got a TV on their wall that they're addicted to,
Right, as we do the same thing that we're doing right now, which is staring at the black screen and whatever.
We're using the devil's tool for our Father's purpose.
That's
exactly what I was about to say. But at some point, it's
staring into that black mirror.
Yeah, at some point, it's going to move towards everything's going to be, and you can hear the WEF talking about it, and you can hear, all of, you can look at the EOs and the different government entities talking about what they're doing to further it. But it's getting to the point where it's going to go online completely. And the WEF has talked about, like, we're not going to need, even Elon himself, we're not going to need the phone because it's all going to be embedded. So that's where that, like, alarm bell goes off and you go, okay, well, this is good for now, and we're going to use it to our advantage. And we're going to get all the information we can and download it and learn. And then that day when they decide to upload it into your body, the transhumanism aspect of it, or the metaverse, or whatever you want to call it, there's 500 million ways you could go about it, the digital ID and blah, blah, blah. That's where everybody is going to have to make that real big decision. Do you really want to be connected to the world, or do you want to be connected to real life living relationships with each other instead of being in this electronic universe? That's going to be a tough day, and if we're not ready...
Yeah, that I just put on the screen, that's your sea of glass in Revelation, the transparent sea of glass. And it says that that they hold the harps of, God, in their hand, and it's like, in that sense, it's a katara, and katara has been it's the thing that runs your Windows PC, is kataras. I don't know if you can see the whole thing or not, but I've got a whole set of these slides on the New Testament, and Revelation in response to modern Greek. And there's your sword, your Mac Air. In Greek, it's a Mac Air, just like a Mac computer is called a Mac Air.
And none of it's safe. Like people try to say, oh well, I'm on Android and whatnot. It's all
Katara does all those programs like that, like building cars and stuff like that. But I think it's all, I don't know why it acts like it repeats or something, like maybe the little season or something,
Oh, Qatar is also Qatar is also the
it's a real-time specialist for Windows PC.
Yeah, but that's the electronic version. I'm talking about the I think Qatar is also like not sword, but like the hand knife.
A harp or a lyre, like a musical instrument. And it says they hold that they're on the Mac Air and using the sword, and then they got the guitars in the sea of glass. And I think the sea of glass is probably the computer screen.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the technological part. Is Qatar is like a handheld knife or sheath or...
Yeah, it can also be that too, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's interesting because when you look at what's going on across the world right now, there's a bunch of stabbings.
Oh, I know.
All of a sudden, people aren't even using guns anymore. They're just going back to stabbings. So I thought that was really interesting because the Qatar was prophesied, but it was like a lesser form. It's like, you've got the technological side, you've got the physical side, you've got the spiritual side, you've got the carnal side. So there's so many dimensions of what we're reading that there's multiple ways that it can play out, and it's just really amazing to watch it actually happening real time.
It is. It's crazy.
But as we watch too, like all what you were just showing with the towers there, like the uploading of people into the metaverse, into that separate metaverse type situation, people are going to flock to it. They're going to be so excited, especially if there's a lockdown.
Isaiah, and it came to pass at the 7th time, and he said, behold, there arises a little UFO or cloud out of the sea, like a man's hand. And he said, go up and go to Ahab, prepare the chariot, and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. It's like he's like, it's small enough that in Hebrew it says it fit in your hand. And it's a UFO, or unidentified object in modern Hebrew.
Wow, that's wild.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of these, man. Like this one. That's from Ezekiel. It's a Meson, and a Meson also fits in. It's the charger for your cell phones and stuff. I mean, I was like, I'm blown out of the water when I look at this stuff in modern language. Because what I do is I'll take it and I'll look at the ancient, and then I'll take it and throw it into the modern. And the Meson also works on the hexagon, which is like where your six-pointed star for the Hebrew stuff comes out. But I could do one of these one day if y'all want me to and just go through a bunch of them. This is another interesting one. It says, has anybody counted the books? Has anybody looked at the books? Has anybody counted the towers? And where is the receiver? Who counts the towers? I'm getting it all screwed up, but it's like the word for book is sefer in ancient Hebrew, but today it means algorithm. And the word for towers is migdals, and that's your cell towers. And then it says, where's the receiver? And that word is NIS, which is your information thing for, that right there. I don't know if I can even say it on here, but that's what it is. That's the NIH card. Is the jab passport.
Jab passport.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to get this out there. People need to hear this stuff.
Yeah, I've got like tons of cards on this where I've been looking up stuff for years, like ever since all this hit us, when all that started, I wanted to see if there was anything in the modern that I could find.
Yeah, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Great work.
Have you listened to Palantir with this whole new, election blah blah and whatnot?
I hadn't really paid that much attention to it this time because I don't vote. It's like
I don't either, but I'm talking about the VP elect and his association with Palantir.
No, I hadn't. What have you found out about it?
Not a lot, because I just started looking into it, but
Okay.
it's very interesting that he has like this set up and he's been associated with it for many, many years. So for T-Man to bring him on, of all people, as his VP and then be associated with Elon with all this, you just start looking at it and you're like, all of this really starts to fit together about how the plan is going to roll out. So look at Palantir, Palantir.
Okay.
It's really interesting.
Well, I know they want us to go to being, part of the internet and put, these things in everybody's brains and Neuralinks and all that stuff. And it's wild. And it's like when you look at the, like it says, unless those days be shortened, no flesh would survive those days. That verse in Matthew 24 is like, before the word days, both times is AI. And they didn't translate it because they said it didn't have any equivalent meaning in English there. And they didn't know what to do with it. Well, when you look in the Old Testament in the Septuagint, Joshua was carrying around AI tablets. So I'm wondering if the whole book isn't some kind of massive artificial algorithm.
Yeah.
Because I found like so much stuff that lines up with what we're going through right now. It's just unreal. Like the sound that goes out in Revelation is actually phone in Greek, and the bowls are vials. And when I looked it up, it said they were little tiny glass vials.
Right.
So when I looked, it'll scare you. It really will. And I've held off on doing a video on this because I don't want people to think that, just because they took the jab that they've done something that they can't be forgiven for. Because Jesus literally mentions in the modern Greek that don't think just because you've done this that you won't be forgiven. you know.
Yeah, when Yahweh says, if you do this, you'll never be forgiven. But
Right.
I think it's more important now than ever because I don't know, we're looking at what's happening and everything's moving at so fast of a speed.
I know.
Yeah. Can I tell you that I just think that it would be really timely if you did that study?
Okay. When we get done with this one, I might do that next then.
Yeah, because like there's so many people that have taken that are believers, and that would really benefit them to know that they can be forgiven.
Yeah, my sister was one of them, and she immediately knew she had done something really bad. Because she was calling me wanting to know, because I'm a nurse, wanting to know if there was any way she could get it out of her body, like with, like metal detox and stuff like that, She was wanting to know what could be done to get rid of it.
Yeah. My entire family, except for my sister, took it, and I've already got 2 family members that are perishing from unknown reasons,
We have one member in the Discord group that has lost 4 family members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
My mom's had 2 heart attacks. And my stepfather, he got a blood clot in his lung, and they went in, they were in surgery like 6 hours trying to get it out, and then it broke, and it got down all the way to almost to his foot. And they were so scared that they were going to have to amputate his leg or something over it.
My dad's brother has the palsy, and
wow.
he says, he's like, it's gotta be because I took that thing, and then my dad's like, I tried to tell you, and he's shaking and shaking, and I feel so bad.
Well,
He's
I have
the only happy good one in the family.
I have that jerkin that I've had for years, and I had to switch my neurologist to a new neurologist, and that was the first question they asked me was, "Did you take that thing?" And I thought, "Yep, y'all are asking me that because you're seeing so many people having symptoms similar to because what I have is real similar to Parkinson's." And if I don't have my meds, you can really tell it. You can actually see my muscles twitching if I don't have my meds. And I thought, yep, that's probably what it is. They were thinking I took that and I've got a new onset. But I said, no, I've had this for eons, for years and years and years. But it's sad. It's really sad. I hate to see young people get in that kind of shape over that,
Yeah.
Because it's not fun. I mean, it literally hurts when your muscles do that. If you don't get relief and get them to stop, it can get quite painful.
Like a Charlie horse in your foot, but
right. Yes, it's similar to that, and it's scary. When it first started, I thought, oh my gosh, because they were checking me for like MS and all kinds of things when it first started. But it's tied to that Job syndrome I have, that autoimmune thing I have. And I was born with that, so there's not much I could do about that.
Well, I think a lot of what we're seeing happen is happening very fast, and it's very obvious. Like with the Elon agenda that he's got going on, the multiple things that he's got going on, and the Trump thing. Who knows what'll happen with the election? It could go either way, but I think we all know kind of what the timeline looks like. It's going to look like, but if time is short, we really need to be able to connect with people on what they're facing in their lives in order to connect with them and bring them to realization of what's going on. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
a lot of people, they don't even read the Bible, so trying to bring them to the Bible to show them the truth is very difficult. But if they see things in their real life happening and we have some kind of direction and answer to what they're seeing and feeling, maybe that will be a better avenue. I don't know.
What do y'all think about this? There's a lot of people that say it's all complete everything's done, that this is the new heaven and the new earth. I just can't see that, guys.
I don't see that.
I
There's
don't.
still thorns and thistles and serpents and
Yeah, it's all
bugs and
Yeah.
still awful here.
sickness and
What new kingdom? What changed?
I even looking at myself, it's like, I shouldn't be in pain or having medical problems or anything if we were in Father's world. It's like this doesn't make any sense to me.
nope.
Now I think that we had like an occurrence in the old Greek of this stuff happening in 70 A.D. But then I'm thinking we're like in the little season, and maybe it reoccurs or something. It
repeats. Everything repeats.
right. Because I've been trying to figure it out, and I'm not.
Too.
I mean, I study constantly, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and I still am sitting there scratching my head, going, I don't see how they see this. I don't.
I think we're in the last eon. I don't think we're going to repeat.
But I see the way they're going too, because they're going to the Christ consciousness. They're going to all this New Age stuff, and it's like, that's a bad path to take, I think, and
that's demonic, big time.
Yeah, and it's going to come back and get them, and I try to warn them, and then they get mad at me, and it's like, I feel like, man, am I just beating my head against the wall? But now I feel good because I see people like Jen coming in here, and people that are actually seeing the truth, and they're, and then I feel better because for a while there, I was getting kind of depressed. Because I didn't think I was reaching anybody.
Look at your views on YouTube. I think it's up to like 35,000 or something on the one video alone. I'll bet you Sally and I probably shared that 10,000 times.
Yeah, I've shared it.
Yeah, one of them has like 37,000 views now.
Yeah,
So
I guarantee you 10,000 of those views are just from all of us.
I bet they are too, because y'all do help me get that out there,
Thank you, Bella. There's so many people come up on this panel, and they like, Bella showed me this, Bella showed me that, and that's just wonderful that you're sharing that with so many people. It just got to be at least 6 or 7 people come up on the panel and said that they've talked with you or they've learned things from me.
And it's not just me no more, guys. It's us. It's us. It's a we thing now. And it's like I've told them I'm not doing well, and I may be leaving here, and it's like, y'all better be ready to pick up the ball and roll with it, because there's going to be a lot of souls on the line, I'm afraid.
We'll do whatever you need us to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here for you.
But it's a we thing. It's not a me no more. For a long time, it was just me by myself, and I was like, until I started the Discord group, and then people started kind of filtering in, and talking to me and stuff, and I felt better. I was like, well, I'm not losing my mind. Other people see it too,
Yeah. You should have told them that. For those that didn't know, so it was almost 2 years ago now, right? Or a year and a half or something ago when I was researching the two Jesuses, and I wasn't even researching them. I was researching Yahweh and Jesus, and I came across a verse or something, and I translated it, and something I heard Abba's spirit say that wasn't me, and I was like, wait, what? So is there another Jesus? And I couldn't figure it out, so I went to a different group that we were all in, and I posted up, hey, has anybody ever heard of there being like two Jesuses? And here's Nathan chiming in, the child of Abba over there. He's like, you're going to want to talk to Artist. And I was like, who? I had no idea who he's talking about, And she's trying to tell me about these two Jesuses or whatever. And I no, there's no way. Because she's trying to tell me that Jesus isn't the Christ and stuff.
Yeah, that was a hard one for me, really.
Oh, and then when I
came
back,
coming right out of the church, I was like, oh, I don't know. This is what they told me is bad.
Yeah. And here, I blocked her. I blocked you, and I still regret it to this day that I blocked you, and then I came back to it.
I've done all types. The first guy that told me about Yahweh, I blocked him, and then I unblocked him, and I was like, I'm so sorry you told me that. I was not ready to hear it yet. And he didn't ever even respond to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
he
like
was
I
telling
came
me
back to
way
go on,
back.
I was like, okay, so you need to tell me about these two Jesuses. I don't understand this, but I got Abba in one ear telling me one thing, and then you telling me something. I got this other guy telling me something, which was Willie, and then I got you, Nate, were telling me stuff. I know. I was like, I
I
need to
wasn't
piece
trying
this
to
house
mislead
together.
anyone.
Poor Will I, y'all guys. I mean, he's still showing my slides, and he's not getting it correct on that stuff. And it's like I
Yeah, I
don't.
know. His whole thing is just your slides and then his own agenda on top of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. So when y'all see that guy on here on TikTok, he's not with me doing this.
Yeah, a
He's
little
showing my
confused.
slides constantly, but
Yeah, I saw that.
we don't have the same viewpoint at all.
No.
So just FYI.
I know the day that I figured this out, I think I mentioned in one of the lives the other night, I prayed, and it's right in January, I prayed to Father for a week, show me the truth. I don't care how hard it is. Bring people into my life. And it was funny because I had been stalking Bella's Facebook page because it was public, And there was one day I came out and I'm making my coffee and I was just scrolling Facebook and I'm like, let me go check her page. And literally Father was like, message her, message her, message her. So I sent her a message on Messenger, and I think I blew up her phone that whole day, just asking her questions. And then she brought me to to the Discord channel, and you go on to Nathan, and there hasn't been any looking back, but I was ready, I didn't fight it because I knew something was way off, and I've always known something was way off, especially with the Old Testament. But when she said the two Jesuses, I was just mind blown, but I accepted it, and it's I wish I could get the people that I'm talking to have that excitement and yearning for truth, because I'm getting what you guys just talked about, people blocking me. I had a woman tell me I committed blasphemy. I had somebody send me a 6-minute video telling me how wrong just people being nasty when you're trying to share this truth with them. So
I'm afraid it's going to get worse too.
Yeah, that's the thing too, you guys, is that they have to be a lover of Father's truth.
Yeah.
If they don't, he even said it, if they don't have the love, love of truth in them, they won't see it. It don't matter how much you preach at them about it, they're not going to see it unless they love Jesus. They have to know Jesus.
And but they profess that they do, and that's the thing. That's what makes it so hard, is that they're worshiping Yahweh. They're not in alignment with the true Father. And
Yeah, they have no idea.
It's
That's why I'm doing this one, because I thought if they can see him for what he really is, then the other is easier to see. Then you have to know the true nature of the real Father before you can understand what Yahweh's about.
Yeah.
So this entire group and getting connected with you all is going to be a huge catalyst for me on the social media aspect, because I'm a part of many different channels, but I can't say anything, because if I do and they all kick me out, I'm left alone. So having a landing base is huge, because I have somewhere else to go when everybody turns their back on me. So I have to tell you guys all that, whether Discord or TikTok or YouTube or whatever, having the communion that I can fall back on is going to give me the ability to reach out now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Vincent's right too. They have to read it from cover to cover to see it. They have to see those comparisons.
They really do have to understand it in that way, yeah. And it's when me and Artist first got on here, we just tried joining other lives. I remember some of the first lives I joined, and I was just trying to talk, and these people were so confounded by what I was saying, and then they would listen for a little bit because I was in a decent demeanor. I was talking in a way that's like, I'm not aggressive. I'm not telling them they're wrong or nothing. I just was like, can we look at this, compare that? And they're like, oh, well, this, no, well, that. And then eventually they just started getting mad. I've had people say all types of names to me. I think probably the first 3 or 4 lives we tried to get into, it was bad. I mean, it was, you couldn't even get a word in after they kind of thought that you were saying anything against the Christ. And then, so I tried to keep that subject on the back burner and just try to focus on the difference between what Jesus was saying and Yahweh. And even that was, they couldn't see it. It was really sad. I was just trying so hard to get people to see it. And I thought maybe I had a decent voice to talk to them about it and get them to see the things that I'm seeing. And it's just like the blinders are just pulled right over their eyes. They cannot see it. They don't even want to see it. And they're just going to attack you almost instantly. These big lives that have like hundreds of people watching. I'm sure there's some going on tonight. But I've been blocked by Tony the Baptist, and what was the other ones we were trying to get into? And then
there's a bunch of them that have blocked me already.
Yeah.
I hate it. But
it was sad because it's like, the atheist and the Satanist would listen to you 10 times more than any of the Christians would. And that's what was sad to me. I'm like, gosh, y'all really say you care and read Jesus's words and you understand them, but I don't think they do at all.
Somebody said something about that about me. They said, I saw you in the some kind of devil TikTok thing.
That's why I brought it up.
And I told him, I said,
said that to me.
I told him, I said, I'm like, Jesus, I'll go wherever. It's like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of that. And I'm going to go in there and tell them the truth. Because they're bashing Jesus, because they don't understand what really happened. And if they could understand, some of those might be.
And they're pointing out the contradictions, and I'm saying, well, there's an answer to it.
Yeah, and when you can't get them to listen, they're like, sides. I've never heard that before. I've heard them say that. It's like.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But I told him, I said, for you to know I was in that room, you had to be in there too. That's what I told him. I was like, it's like, but I told him, I said, I'm not afraid to talk to anybody.
That's funny you say that, because I told Nate that when sometimes you talk and share things, I know it's Abba speaking through you. I can hear him. Because some things, the way you talk, it reminds me of what he says when he talks.
There's a lot of times you've said things and I've needed answers for things, and you're like, well, and then the things just come to you. And that's happened for me too, where I get pressed on a subject, or I get pressed on a topic, and then I'm like, oh, I'm getting so nervous, and I'm starting in my mind or just in my head, I'm like, okay, help me, Father, because I gotta come up with the right words here. And they'll say little trigger words and things that make me go, bing, okay, wait, okay, you said this about Paul, or oh, you said this about Jesus, okay, I remember this, I remember that. All those little things that you've been telling us over the years, and we've been repeating them so we can remember them. It's helped me tremendously to even be able to talk on lives at all.
I know I've shared a lot about that dream I had when I was younger. I was 27 and I was suicidal. But I can tell y'all that the nature of Father is one of not of fear. It's of love and warmth, and it's a love like there's no other comparison. Not even having my baby compares. But it's like when I see, the beginning of wisdom is fear, it's like, no, we don't have to go there. Because when I had that dream and Father was holding me, he put me in his lap like a little girl, like a little toddler, and was stroking my hair, and he was like telling me, it's okay, I'm your real father. It's okay, I'm your real father. And it's like, it was just so peaceful and so, I don't know how to even explain it, but he's like a real person. He's not going to be something you got to be afraid of. And he's not breathing fire and coals out of his mouth and, got fire in his eyes and all that. He's a loving, kind, compassionate person. And he loves every one of us so much. I mean, it just brings me to tears, because it's good tears, though. It's like, he's real.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And he's there for us, every one of us.
He's
I know
alive to.
I've been going to. I went through a lot of personal matters and things in my life, and I appreciate you going on because you've been there for me. You've seen all these things I'm going through, and massive breakups and family discrepancies, and she was there for me and talked to me and helped me with so much. Um, I really appreciate you. I'm so glad we get to do these lives. And I'm glad that there's people joining in that agree. We had no idea there were so many people that get this. Every single night for the past 4 or 5 nights, it's been a new person that we've never even talked to before that's like, thank you so much, and I get it, and I agree with you, and that is very, very encouraging. It's what's helping us, keep going with it.
Yes, Father, he's gathering everybody. He really is. It's amazing. Very, very amazing.
So, can I go back to the topic of the whether or not we're in the millennial reign or the
timeline topic?
Yeah.
We're
Go
in the
ahead, Bella.
we're in the short season. We're past the MK.
Right. Because I was just talking to my grandma. She just passed away on Monday or on Wednesday, but I've been talking to her over. Thank you, guys. I'm so happy she passed quickly. It wasn't drawn out.
Yeah, that's good.
But I've been talking to her, and she grew up in Nebraska, in the middle of nowhere, like nowhere in Nebraska. And they did all of the harvesting and crops and whatnot. And all the time that she talked about it, she was like, we just went out and, as a family, and we grew the crops and we harvested them and we did this and we did that. So we're talking like 1930s, and she's talking about her dad doing it for his lifetime, which was well back into the 1800s, right? They didn't use, because I asked her, what did you guys treat the crops with? And she was like, we didn't do anything to the crops. So they were harvesting the crops and they were growing them, and they never did anything to it. So when you look at it from that point of view, my grandma was born in 1930. Before that, they didn't have any kind of amendments. And she went on to say, when I asked her about when she went to school, she was like, well, I didn't go to school until like 1945. So maybe that's the wrong year, but she was already in like 8th or 9th grade before they actually started busing the kids to a school. She's like, we didn't go to school. And then all of a sudden they had to go to school. So,
must have been nice.
Yeah. But when you look at it from the idea of whether or not there was a millennial reign that already happened, it's tough, because you look at the way that our grandparents and forefathers were living life, they didn't seem to be under the same kind of like stuff that we're experiencing now. So if you go
sometime in that time period, though, Jen, all these big cathedrals and stuff were built, and we can't even recreate some of those today. So when did those come about?
Right. Where was the frequency and all of the amazing art being made?
I've heard things too, because especially with near-death experiences, they always talk, well, not always, but a lot of them I've heard where they're like, it's just this most beautiful, intricate architecture that they see when they pass on. They're seeing all these things. I think that they tried to bring that down here from Father's Kingdom. But that didn't really start until after Jesus came here. And also, there was an explosion of artwork, and people were no longer afraid to make images and things like that. So the artwork, but I think that was the Christ. So they got this half breed truth of whatever it was, and maybe that was the millennial kingdom. I'm not even sure. I just know that there's big changes that happened after that time in history.
It's hard to refute it, because when you look at the architecture and the things that they were able to do without the machinery that we have today, right? Like, how did they get so intricate, and how did they
I think they
make
just lie to us because it won't no horse and buggy and hammer and chisel and all that. That they had ways of doing it. I think we just don't know.
Just like the geography changing, they rewrote it. They rewrote the history.
Yeah.
The Dark Ages, I think, is when all that happened, because that's when all the maps were changed. I can tell that from my research, that during that time period that there was massive changes made, and then you have nothing but like recreated maps of ancient maps. There's no real ancient maps, but we did have some from the first century that were for real, like Strobel's.
And they added 1,000 years to our timeline too.
Yeah, I think they did too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the truth, then the short season we're in means that there's no shortening of time. There's no revelation. There's no like cataclysm that's about to happen. So what does that actually mean if we're past all of that?
The eons, or however you want to say it, they repeat.
Yeah.
Like 1,000 years.
Like the Vatican is the third temple. Have you watched that video I've got on that, Jen?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. I've watched all your stuff 3 or 4 times.
But and I think it's the same temple that's in Revelation because of the 12 gates. And when you look at it early in the morning or late in the evening, it looks like a city of gold because of the way the sun hits it and all. If you were seeing it in a vision, you would see it pretty much. I'm going to show that in the next video. I have a photo of it, like at early morning, and you can tell it looks just like the roads are paved with gold.
And the Vicar of Christ was the embodiment of Christ reigning on earth for 1,000 years. We've had 1,000 popes. Well,
yeah,
1,000 popes. I mean,
in Antichrist is literally Vicarius Christi in Latin, and it doesn't mean against Christ. Because anti-theos in first century meant godlike, so Antichrist would naturally mean Christ-like, and it said it can also mean deputy Christ or vice Christ, like in the place of, like, standing in for him. So it's literally somebody that was standing in for the Christ, not somebody that was against him, like they've told us. Like, if you say vice president in Greek, it's the first part of that is anti. It's the same spelling.
Yeah. So if all of that is true, then this part of what we're living in is the actual playing out of after the short season.
Right.
It's just geoengineered and to repeat over and over. I don't think this kingdom will
Right.
ever.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
don't
for
think.
saying.
Yeah, I don't think this kingdom will ever dissolve. I think this is their hell, and it just repeats over and over. And a lot of these, even the Hollywood actors and all them, they all know this, so that's why they don't care if they die because they know they're coming back. You know, they just recycle
Yeah.
over and over.
And I think it's on a spiritual level too. Like he said, they were marrying and giving in marriage, and they were eating and drinking, and the flood took them away, and they didn't know it. It's like the bride of Christ thing, because the Catholic Church, like when you're confirmed, you become a bride of Christ. The nuns and the priest and everybody becomes a bride. And then they're talking about the eating and drinking. I think it's the Eucharist, and the wine.
So everybody that wants to stay, they want to experience this life because they love this life. They stay.
Yeah, they took their oath to the Christ, to Yahweh,
Right.
the one eye,
Right.
which is Lucifer.
And they go through it all again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Yahweh wants people to think there's no coming back from that. But John said, "Come out of them, my people," so you don't share in their mess.
Yeah.
It's like you have to realize it and say, "Okay, I repent. I'm going to Abba Father now." It's like I know who the real Father is now.
That's where this whole like harpazo and like being swept away comes up, because it's like, okay, well, we don't want to do this again. We are looking away from it.
We know who our Father is. We're going home.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm
there's
trying to get out of here.
Yeah, there's not a harpazo.
I don't want to come back here.
There's not a harpazo as far as a sweeping away of the souls, but at the end of like this short season and everything that's going to happen as far as a geoengineered or a fake revelation or tribulation, where is what we go through? So
We're living it. We're living it, Jen.
Yeah. And I think that like at the end of it all, like for me, and you and everybody individually, we say, okay, well, we're here and we're living this, but at what point does it end? Do we really, I have no problem with living this life and not proclaiming my life. I will be like, yeah, take my life. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. But at the end of it, does it mean that we all just say, yeah, I don't want this life. Take it.
I think it's on the spiritual level. You have to choose to not want this world, to want Father's world and Father and not this world. It's like
to end.
It may, I don't know. It's like, but I don't think Father is going to unalive anybody, really.
No. This
It
isn't
kind of
his
feels
kingdom.
like the Ouroboros again, right?
Yeah,
So we've gotten to the end of that cycle, and we're about to go to the beginning of the new cycle, and everybody that doesn't want to participate the next cycle is like, I'm done. I'm out.
Right. I think once you realize the truth, you get to go home, if you choose Father.
Yeah, and I think in the past, each eon, if you look back at our history or what we know of their story of our history, we have at one point some Holocaust, another time we have wars going on. Do you get me? At other points we have the Black Plague, or do you get what I'm saying? They do things Satan does things, and Satan isn't just these demons, it's also the government. Do you understand that? Ephesians.
Yeah, his minions, his workers.
Yeah. So you've got the government here. Now this eon, I believe they're doing a silent war, and a silent war is where they're destroying us, our bodies, whatnot, without destroying the climate or having a war. Does that make sense? But they're playing out the look and the appearance of a tribulation or the end times. So people
running the script.
Yeah, because they're living in fear. People are living in fear and they're losing hope. Does that make sense?
But think how many believers in Jesus have died in Ukraine alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. I was looking at some photos of the grave sites, and every one of them has a cross over it. So those were all believers,
And that's genocide. That's them playing it out to make it look like the end times.
And I looked at I looked at the there's an online statistical thing about people being unalived and the numbers and all. And it was like I want to say 2016 or 2017, all of a sudden there was like a massive jump in that. Like, I'm talking huge jump. And it stayed up there, and then it goes up some, and it'll plateau, and then it'll go up again. It just keeps going up and up and up.
It's just terrible. You got innocent people there being unalived just for their agenda, And then us over here, they're doing it to our food, our water, our air, your medicines. They're chemtrailing our gardens, they're unaliving our dogs and cats with their dog food and our livestock.
Yeah, they want to vaccinate the dogs and animals and pets. It's like when I went to go get my dog fixed, and they're like, "Oh, she needs this and she needs that." I'm like, "Nah."
I told him no. I told him no on everything I could get by with. Was living in an apartment that I didn't have to have.
It's legal. It's a law. She has to have rabies vaccine. I'm like, no, dang. Ugh.
I know. And I know I was able to grow all kinds of food out here outside the apartment. I had a box garden, and I was growing all kinds of food. And the last year I did it, after they started all the spraying, I couldn't get anything to produce anything. It was just dead.
Yep, my kids didn't grow this year at all. Hardly.
And I was like, this is so sad, man. I used to get a lot of food out of those boxes, and I'm not getting anything.
Yeah, even talk to my dad. Gosh, he had a whole garden out there, and he didn't yield much this year.
Yeah, me neither.
And in Tennessee, they've even said no more spraying and no more this and that in Tennessee. But it's like...
Yeah, they passed a law this year. They're not spraying us anymore.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it in like it was.
When I was there and I visited my dad, I was like, gosh, I can see the sky. It doesn't look like this metallic, hazy, weird thing I'm viewing the sun through. And it was like when I was younger, it was wild. Also, he lives in the mountains and whatnot. But
somebody said they did it because of the Smokies. They were afraid they were going to kill everything in the Smokies, and it says in Revelation, don't harm the trees. It's like, so I figured that maybe that's why they passed the law. I don't know. But people are being laughed at for talking about it, and told they have a tinfoil hat and all that,
Yeah.
But at least it did pass, Well, you guys want to call it here for tonight, and maybe.
Yeah, that's fine. Gosh, I'm sorry. I was up early and then doing a lot and then painting and just mentally exhausted. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right.
I actually fell asleep for a few minutes.
I'm getting sleepy too.
I was about to. I was nodding off a little bit. I'm like, oh gosh.
But it's just so nice to get everybody together like this and talk and all. It's just really nice.
It is.
We got a little off topic, but it's okay. It's great.
Yeah, it was.
It's still other things we need to talk about anyway,
Yeah.
But I love all you guys, and I'm going to call it then.
Love you too.
I love you too very much.
Jen, thanks for joining us again. I hope you'll be here next time, too.
Yeah, it was great having you.
Vita, everybody that came up, I appreciate y'all so much. I love everybody. Y'all have a good night.
You too. Love y'all.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.